Hello and welcome to the demo on Trojans. Let's get started. For this demo I've got two machines running. I've got a Kali Linux on the left hand side of the screen, and on the right hand side I've got a Windows 10 virtual machine. Okay, so first thing we want to do in a Trojan is to create our malicious code, and for that I'm going to use the social engineering toolkit, which is an awesome piece of software that comes with Kali. You'll find it under Applications, Social Engineering Tools, and Social Engineering Toolkit. Okay. Once it starts, there's a whole bunch of menu options, but we're going to go for a social engineering attack, number 1. And then we want to create a payload and listener, which is number 4. And the payload we want to use is the second one here, Windows Reverse TCP Interpreter Back to Attacker. So we just select that, number 2. Okay, now it wants the IP address for the payload listener. That is the actual attacking machine. So let's quickly get that. Let's go to here, open up a new window, do an ifconfig. And we see our IP address is 192.168.1.106. Great. So if I just go back here, it's 192.168.1.106. Now the port to listen on, okay, I'm just going to choose 4444 just so it's easy to remember. And it's busy generating the payload. Okay, once the payload has generated, you can see that it has saved it to this address on the Kali machine /root/.set/payload.exe. I'm not going to start the listener yet because I actually want to copy that payload onto the Windows machine. So let me do that quickly. Okay, so I have copied the payload.exe file to the desktop here, as you can see, and I needed to actually disable Windows Defender because it kept picking it up as a piece of malware, which it actually is. So good for that. Alright, so now that that's in place, let's just quickly see what will happen if a user clicks the payload. But first, let's start our listener. Okay, so the listener's up and running, and it's listening on port 444 on the Kali Linux box. Alright, so now as user, if I double click payload, immediately you can see I have a interpreter session opened. So the exploit and the vulnerability and the backdoor, for want of a better word, is working perfectly. Okay, great. But what happens if we want to make this a true Trojan? In other words, hide it as a piece of software that actually works with this running in the background. And let's see if we can do that. Alright, so what I'm going to first do is create a batch file. And I've created it over here, so let's take a look at it. It's literally just a plain old batch file that launches calculator and then our famous payload.exe. So let's quickly run that batch file and see what happens. Okay, great. As you can see, it spawned another interpreter session and it opened the calculator as well. So that's working perfectly, but obviously in the real world we wouldn't want this terminal window to pop up. Otherwise the user might know that something's going on in the background. So let's see if we can fix that. Okay, great. So what I've done is I've used a batch to exe converter, and I will run through the process again. As you can see, I had some success there. So let's just quickly try that. So let me just cut that and let's just put it somewhere safe for now. So documents would probably be a good place. And perfect. Alright. So the software that I'm using is called bat to exe converter. You can literally Google it and you'll find it on download.com. And then what I want to do is I want to pretty much combine or make this batch file an exe or an executable. So what I do is I literally click on that. Very simple tool to use. I choose the batch file that I want, which is 1.bat, and as you can see it's going to make 1.exe there. And then I'm going to choose to make it an invisible application, and once I'm ready I leave everything else as is and I compile it, and as you can see it's popped up over there. So now if we run this tool, let's see what happens. Great. So the calculator is opening up on its own, but the interpreter has opened a fourth session. So it's working perfectly because there's no command prompt being pitched up here. So this makes it the perfect Trojan horse, because you get a calculator that works, but there's malicious code running in the background. Great. So how do we make the user use this? Well, I see the user's using a calc shortcut on his desktop, and I'm going to actually exploit that human vulnerability to ensure that this thing works perfectly. Let me do that quickly. Alright, so let's close this calculator down and let's go look at the properties of the shortcut. So as you know, a shortcut in Windows is literally just a shortcut to a specific executable. In this case, the calc points to Windows system32 calc.exe, and all we really want to do is change that to point to this executable here, 1.exe. So I could quite easily copy 1.exe into system32, which would probably be the right thing to do. So let's try that. So I'm going to take this and copy it and see if it copies into system32. Windows and system32 and paste. Continue. Great. So 1.exe is now in system32. So all I need to do really is just change this to 1.exe. So it's going to call the 1.exe instead of calc.exe. Let's see if that actually works. Okay, as you can see, it's changed the icon, so we might want to go back and change that for the user so that it isn't too suspicious. So all you do is you right click there, go to properties, change icon, and let's just quickly find an icon. I'm not going to look for the exact same icon, but find something similar just for the demo. But in the real world, you'd go find the real icon file, and let's just apply that. Great. So now there's your calculator.exe. Obviously, I'd also move these off the desktop so the user wasn't aware. And so the user walks in the next morning, the morning after the hack the night before, where we've changed his desktop and planted a Trojan horse on his desktop so that we have backdoor access. And he launches calculator as he does every morning. And as he launches calculator, we get a interpreter session and we are back in the system. So that is a very short and very easy way for me to try and explain Trojans for you. So as you can see, a Trojan horse, I built one that's sitting behind calculator. So the calculator still works perfectly. 5 plus 5 is 10, or 5 plus 55 is 60 in this case. And so the calculator still works perfectly, but there is malicious code running in the background, and that is the true definition of a Trojan horse. Thank you for watching. Welcome back. What I want to do now is quickly re-initiate that backdoor and then actually interact with that system using interpreter, just to show you a few commands that you can use to actually start interacting with the machine that you've backdoored via your Trojan. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we want to do is start our engineering toolkit. You could do it straight through Metasploit, but what I want to do is actually recreate that payload just to make sure that we have the same settings. So as before, number 1, social engineering attacks. Number 4, create a payload and listener. Number 2 is the one we want to set as the payload, and our IP address of our target machine 1.101, and the port we used before was 4444, and it's generating the payload. While it does that, I'm going to just quickly open up my calculator just to show you that it still works. And there we go, it's ready. So let's start our listener and let it just quickly launch Metasploit for us. Okie dokie, so the payload handler is running, and let's start our calculator. Great, there we go, we have a Meterpreter session 1 has been opened. Great, so what you do now is at the prompt over there you type the following command: sessions -i, and we're going to interact with session 1. Great. As you can see, the prompt has changed to Meterpreter. Now, there's a whole bunch of Meterpreter commands, and you can find them on the internet. But if you just type help, you will see there's a number of commands that come with Meterpreter. So you can read the contents of the file, change the directory, list all the files, etc., etc. So let's just quickly do a check on the directory that we're in. So if we do a dir, as you can see, I am on the desktop because it's got all those icons. There they are. So that is the thing I'm in. This is a virtual machine, so there's no webcam. But let's take a screenshot. So we just type the command screenshot, scrwnshot, and we can see the screenshot has been saved to user share set, and there it is as a JPEG. Let's see if we can find it. So we would go to a command prompt, and it's /user/share. Sorry, it's cd/user/share. Just do an ls. Okay, there's a lot of things there. Let's just quickly go back to our thing. Set is the next folder we need, so cd set, and do that, and we can see there is a JPEG. Great. So let's just see if we can open it in the file system. Okay, so let's see if we can open the file system. So we go to Places and Computer, and then let's just go to that USR directory, and then the share directory, and then all the way down to SET, as it said it was. So there we go, and there is our JPEG. And if we open it up and expand it, we can see it is the screenshot of our backdoored Windows 10 machine. And that pretty much is a demonstration on how Meterpreter works. So what I recommend you do is get to grips with the different commands and see what you can do. The Meterpreter is a very, very powerful tool. As you can see, you can pretty much do anything. And please bear in mind that we are actually backdoored a Windows 10 machine, which is the latest Microsoft operating system. So hopefully this video on Trojans has shown you the power of the social engineering toolkit, the Metasploit framework, and of course the Meterpreter session that you can use to backdoor machines and control them remotely. Thank you for watching.